And it has been heartbreaking what's been happening to my 3 favorite sci-fi franchises in the last few years, namely Star Trek, Star Wars, and Doctor Who. It's been breaking my heart what has been getting done to them. And, I kind of teared up the other day when I said on stream that it hurts my heart that I've had to say goodbye to 3, probably my top 3 sci-fi franchises because of what's changed with them. Because the stories have been supplanted with messaging and agenda, and that's been put before the story. And it's just been breaking my heart. Now, with Star Wars Legends, yes. Yes, Gemini. Yes. Basically, everything up to Return of the Jedi. Everything up to Return of the Jedi, and all of the expanded universe prior to the Disney purchase. The Disney purchase is basically where canon stops, in my opinion. Because Disney they took something beautiful and they fucked it up. And to that effect, so with this new show, because I'm sure everybody's been hearing all sorts of stuff about the Acolyte, how horrible it is, and I did not watch the first 2 episodes because I said that I wasn't gonna watch the show because I'd been seeing the way that Star Wars was going. I watched all of The Mandalorian, and the last season of The Mandalorian was such a disappointment with what they did to it. I couldn't make it through, I think, the first, maybe the second episode of Ahsoka. I gave that a shot, and I made it through 1 or 2 episodes, and I said, I'm done. I'm out. This is stupid. But with The Acolyte, I've watched reviews on it. Some of these reviews have been pretty in-depth, where they kind of they pretty much show the entire episode over the course of the review, so I kind of got to see it. But with episode 3, because I'd heard that it was basically, this is the episode that kills Star Wars. There was all this talk about how they've changed the Force, like they've killed the Force, and they've killed Star Wars and so on. I thought, you know what? I need to watch this so I can get my own opinion on it, because I've heard a lot of opinions. I've heard a lot of reviews, people that have actually seen it in advanced readings of it. I've heard their opinions, and they're screaming to the mountaintops about how horrible it is, etc., etc. So I said, you know what? I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to formulate my own opinion and see if it really is as bad as they've been saying. So I watched it. I watched it today. I watched it probably about 5 hours ago. And I took notes. And while I will say it's not good, it's not a good show, I do feel like a lot of what is being said. Okay, so Zach, you like basically only the parts where it was Kenobi, where it was Ewan and Hayden Christensen. Just that. The rest of it was the. Well, I didn't even watch Kenobi. I saw enough reviews on it, but I did not watch Kenobi. Because Kenobi basically takes the... Well, I mean, here's the thing. The Kenobi show basically gave the middle finger to the original Star Wars movie. The entirety of the Kenobi movie series gave a big middle finger to the very first movie, to Episode 4. Because you may have noticed in Episode 4, Leia doesn't know who the fuck Kenobi is. She just says, you fought with my father in the Clone Wars, and that's it. She doesn't say, you saved my ass when I was 4 years old. So, yeah, that was just incredibly stupid. That's the perfect example of the people at Disney do not cannot write Star Wars. They're not capable of it. So I've watched Acolyte. No, I did not pay for it. No, I'm not going to tell you how I watched it. But I did watch the full episode. And I have thoughts. Is it a good show? Was it a good episode? No. Was it this quote-unquote woke, feminist, LGBT monstrosity that all of these critics are screaming about? I'm gonna say no. No, it was not. And I actually have something with that in my notes. Like, they talk about... I'll just go down my list here. So, critics are saying that this is going to destroy Star Wars and it destroys Force. And more specifically, they comment about how it's referred to. So, in the episode, these witches on this planet, for the life of me, I can't remember what the hell the planet is called. These witches on this planet, they refer to the Force as the thread. And a lot of critics took issue with this. I do not. For one very specific reason. These are not Jedi. They are their own religious sect, effectively speaking. And people may have their own passed down through generations term for what we as the audience know as the Force. So if these witches want to refer to this ethereal power as the thread and interpret it as to it is a thread that is woven through all things, that's fine. I actually saw no problem with utilizing that kind of description, that kind of, giving it that kind of label. It is the same thing. It's essentially a different culture calling the same thing a different word. It's, in that respect, it's no different from the various religions here in the real world calling various deities or a deity something different. It's the same principle. Neither of them are wrong. And in the case with Star Wars here, this coven of witches calling the Force the thread is the same thing. I saw no problem with it whatsoever. It does not destroy the Force. It doesn't. I don't find it destroys the Force at all. So that was basically a big hubbubaloo about nothing. That specific thing there. Obviously, the Force was used, or the Force thread, however you should phrase it, it was used in the same way, although in this case it was used primarily as with telekinesis and mind control. I'll get into it. Yeah. One of the big things was these witches were, the claims were that these witches were persecuted and put into exile because they're lesbians. That is not explicitly said, and I didn't feel like it was heavily implied either. They basically just said that one character just said that we were forced into exile because, I forget the exact quote, but the leader of this coven said, we had to flee into exile because they will never accept us. It was not said in a context of this coven of witches being lesbians. So, the feeling I got, taken into context with the episode, is they were pushed into exile because others, perhaps the Jedi, did not approve of the way that they used the Force, the thread. That's kind of the impression that I get. But again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless these witches were using said power for evil. And while they were acting like they did not, there could be an evil history here that, of course, is not being mentioned in the episode. It is just one episode. But I think I know why there's such a big push to try and equate their exile to them being lesbians. And that's because the way Disney and the people behind the show have front-loaded the crap out of this show with what amounts to feminist and LGBT propaganda. And that one's on Disney. They front-loaded the ever-living hell out of this show, specifically Leslie Headland and Amanda Stenberg. And so that put a stigma on this show before it even launched. And honestly, they have only themselves to blame for it. Having actually watched the show, I don't think that was the reason for the quote-unquote exile. I didn't get that feeling. And in all reality, they didn't really push any kind of lesbian thing with the Coven of Witches either. There wasn't, there were two of them where, the way they spoke and where the way one kind of does a hand gesture towards the other, it made it does seem like, yes, they are lesbian lovers. But there wasn't too much of it. But because Disney and Leslie and all them front-loaded it with a whole crapload of propaganda, especially with Leslie and Amanda calling Star Wars gay, saying that Star Wars is inherently gay, they front-loaded it with this. And that's why people are taking it this way. So Disney only has themselves to blame for that. They generated the hype that this was going to be a super gay Star Wars. And so, of course, people are going to take it that way. But that part of it, I thought, it's... Again, I think it's being overblown. But it's understandable why. I can understand why people are blowing out of proportion, because Disney basically made it that way. The two sisters. So, the twins, May and Osha, they have this really screwy rivalry right off the jump in the episode. That's just like, it doesn't make any sense. There's no background context for it. There's just, May, it's just, like Osha is exhibiting a wanderlust desire. She wants to leave the planet and basically go explore. Yes it is. Yes it is, Johnny. So May is, Osha is expressing a wanderlust. She wants to leave the planet. She wants to see what else is out there, and May is very much opposed to it. She's saying, no, I don't want to leave. And even when they're going through, like, a very brief training session with their mother on the use of the Force, the two of them are pushing and shoving each other really harshly the whole damn time. And I'm sitting here watching this going, what the fuck am I watching here? You've got these two 8-year-old brats that are shoving each other while their mother's trying to teach them about the Force. Where May, who is, further down the line. Oh, great, Cyber. Well, I'm glad you could be here, and welcome. We're just talking about my opinion of the latest Acolyte episode and how I think it may have been blown out of proportion, to a degree. But yeah, I just didn't. I didn't understand why the two of them were bickering so harshly. There was absolutely no context for it. Yeah, it was a cell phone, and they're not helping themselves. But the really strange thing is May seems very devoted to the Coven, because they're going to be going through some kind of ceremony during the episode to ascend. I guess basically become anointed witches of the Coven, effectively. Because these are the first children in this Coven for God knows how many years. Because it's only women, so obviously they cannot create children, supposedly. So these are the first chosen they've had God knows how long. So they were going to be going through like an anointing ceremony to basically become a witch of the coven. So you would think that May, especially because she is super dedicated to the coven, you would think she would want to learn how the fuck to use her powers. She's number one, she's starting shit with Osha the whole time, and Osha's going back. And then when it comes time for them to practice using their powers, May actually hides behind Osha. And I'm sitting here watching this going, wait a minute, you're the one that's gung-ho. Wouldn't you be interested in learning how to use your powers so you can become a witch of this coven? It made no sense to me. It just didn't make any sense. Like, all these writing choices are stupid and don't make any sense. From the out of nowhere rivalry that apparently has been in place for a while but is never really discussed. And the only thing I can think of is that because May doesn't like the idea of Osha leaving. But it doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. So that really just, again, this rivalry just, and it escalates real fucking fast at the end, and I'll get into that. Now, during the ceremony, later in the episode, about midway through, they're going to be going through the ceremony to anoint the two young girls as witches for the coven. And May gets anointed, which is how she gets the little mark on her forehead that you see in the first two episodes. She's got like a white dotted spiral on her forehead. That is the mark of the witch's coven. The preceding event of this anointing ceremony has some of the dumbest chanting I've ever heard. You undoubtedly, I have no doubt clips of it have been uploaded to YouTube. It is so incredibly dumb. Well, Gemini, I imagine so, because honestly, up to the midway point, other than this really screwball rivalry that doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me, the episode was fine. It was, excuse me. Up until the midway point, the episode was fine. It was nothing special other than the rivalry between the two sisters didn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. But then we get to the midway point. Midway point is where things start to fall apart. So first and foremost, the chanting. You will be able to find it on YouTube. I imagine it's been uploaded a dozen times or more. It is the dumbest and cringiest thing I've ever heard. It is so incredibly stupid. And that's all I'm gonna say. It's just really fucking stupid. And yeah, you'll understand. But then halfway through the ceremony, after May's been anointed, but before Osha does, because Osha is starting to hesitate. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, that's the campfire in space. A lot of people have been trying to say, oh well, you never minded before, ignoring the fact that before were explosions, which actually can happen in space, and this was an actual campfire. But again, off topic, off track. So halfway through the ceremony, the Jedi show up, and one of these witches say the Jedi are slicing through the main gate of their home. Now, to the average person, they might think, why the hell are the Jedi cutting through their gate with lightsabers? Because they actually use the word slicing. I will say, I don't think that's what they were referring to. In the Star Wars universe, hacking a computer is actually called slicing. And that has been well established in Expanded Universe prior to Disney taking over. The act of hacking in Star Wars is called slicing. So the Jedi sliced or hacked the front gates of the Witch's Coven. Here's my question. Why? Why are the Jedi hacking the gates of the Coven to come in? Why don't they knock on the fucking door? Or ring the doorbell? Why do they have to hack the gates to get in? they could just knock, 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 or ding dong. Hi, can we talk? Like, that makes no sense. That makes them seem overly aggressive for no good reason. And so, of course, the Jedi are there because they're there for the kids. Which brings up a whole other question. This is a planet that is outside the governance of the Republic. They say they say this, is that the witches say we are not a part of the Republic. We are outside of the Republic. How did the Jedi even find out about these kids in the first place? No, actually, Codemaster, I'm not talking about conspiracy theories. I'm talking about my impression of the third Acolyte episode. Because I'd heard about all the reviews talking about how it's destroying Star Wars and this and that, and I actually sat down and watched it. And I'm giving my impressions, and it's not anywhere near as bad as people are saying, but it's still not good. And that's why I'm kind of giving my impressions about it. Like my thought is, how did the Jedi even find out about these kids in the first place? You're talking about a single compound on a planet with, hi Kaboom, hi. You're talking about a single planet with a single compound, with a single coven of witches, of which I'm guessing there are maybe 50. How did the Jedi even find out about this? Thank you for the follow, Walt. You know, they're not a part of the Republic, so it's not like they would have been sent reports or anything to the Jedi. How did they find out about it? Did they find out with the Force? Did the Force guide them to it? And if it did, then, well, yeah, did the Force guide them to this planet? Because if it did, why are they not looking to bring in the entire coven? This entire coven of witches can use the Force, or the thread, as they call it. I don't know if a holocron would have. I doubt a holocron would have led them to this, because this was not a big witch coven. This is not. And they actually said that they were exiled because of, presumably, despite what everybody's saying, I don't think the exile was due to them being lesbians. I think the exile was due to their views on the Force. That's why I expect they were exiled. Who knows, maybe in the next episodes they'll actually flat out say that they were exiled because they're lesbians. I don't know, I don't care. But why? Every single witch in this coven can use the Force. And so why is the Jedi not interested in going, geez, we have an entire coven of women here who are able to use the Force. Maybe we should look at making friends with them to try to bring them into our ranks in some way. Yes, you're not going to be. Yes, they're old. They're all older than what you could do to start their training as a Jedi. But if they're Force users, why not be friends with them? Why not be allies with them? And throughout the episode, there's not even a hint that the Jedi are interested in any of the witches except for the two girls. The two little girls are the only ones they give a shit about. And this makes no goddamn sense. You have an entire colony of Force users, yet you only care about the two little girls. Well, that's the question. And I have a suspicion that they're probably going to, as the episodes progress, they are probably going to, I'm thinking they may say something along the lines of that the Coven edge towards the dark side, and that I strongly suspect that they're going to say that May and Osha's birth was a result of the dark side. Because, yes, the Force is what caused one of these women to get pregnant. However, and this is key here, it is not because of like an immaculate conception thing like what happened with Anakin. A lot of people are saying, oh, they're destroying the immaculate, they're destroying the whole thing of Anakin got pregnant, a Shmi Skywalker got pregnant because of the Force and Immaculate Conception. They're taking all the weight of mankind. No, they're not. They actually indicate in the show that the lead witch, God help me, I can't remember her name. I'm not going to remember hardly any of these witch names. Actually used the Force to make her partner pregnant. And my guess is through using the Force in a Sith-like manner. Because they say, like, oh, do you think the Jedi would be so accepting if they knew how the twins were conceived? Other factions for... Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, that's the head of the coven, whom the twins both called Mother. They do not call the woman who actually gave birth to them Mother. They call this other woman Mother. Or Mom, excuse me. Sorry. They call the women Mother so-and-so, but they actually call the head witch They use the familial mom term with her. I do not know what. And thank you for the call, for the follow, Codemaster. So they I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So the head witch, like the head witch and this other one, Coral, I think her name is or something, are talking in very hushed tones about the Jedi being there, and Coral says like I carried them or I gave birth to them or something to the effect. And the head mother says, but I'm the one that basically put them in you. And they said that, and of course they say, do you think the Jedi would be so thrilled about, if they knew how you did it? So yeah, this woman used probably dark Sith energy, or used like Sith-like part of the Force to make this other woman pregnant, is what I think they're going to be saying. Yeah, it is entirely possible that in the coming episodes, they're going to make an argument that, oh, the Jedi perceive it as evil, but it's actually good, and they'll make an allegory to how, I'm sure there may possibly be an allegory to, hang on a second. Sorry, someone who doesn't know how to install a muffler into their car decided to go tearing by my place. I do think it is possible that in later episodes they will make some kind of an allegory that two women getting pregnant is an abomination, or they may say something like that to basically try and do further a persecution complex. That is entirely possible. I don't know. At present, it looks like they're insinuating that one of these witches impregnating the other one with Sith magic or Sith energy. It seems like it's Sith magic or Sith energy. That's what it seems like. Where they're gonna go forward with this, God only knows, but I can only imagine. But again, how did the Jedi know about any of these? That's the question. Which they don't say. They just come in. There's children here that can use the Force, aren't there? Can you bring them forward? We'd like to test them. It's like, what the actual fuck? And this is like, and I do think that this is yet another effort to make the Jedi look bad. To make them look like bad guys. Alright, and so then Osha actually expresses interest in wanting to go with the Jedi. That she wants to actually be a Jedi. And of course, everyone, the Coven, her sister say, no, you can't do that. You can't be a Jedi. And basically the way that her sister reacts, and the way that they're all acting like, no, you can't. They're acting like it's a betrayal. That she wants to be a Jedi. That she's choosing to be a Jedi. And it looks like a very weird allegory that I'm not sure Leslie Headland intended for, because it felt very much like an allegory of a gay person coming out to their family and their family not approving. Here's the problem. And the witches are gay. The witches are all lesbian. So, are they making an allegory about disapproval of saying, actually, I'm straight? I don't know. That's just kind of like the first blush impression I got was that this felt like an allegory of the gay person coming out of the closet, except why would they do it that way? Because they would want to intone the reverse. It was really freaking weird. And of course, the May was upset because she's under this feeling like, oh, we're twins, we have to do everything together. I don't want to be separated from you. In the meantime, Osha's like, I want to do my own thing. I want to go find my own path. So they're doing that. And then of course, when her and Mom were talking, she actually said something that really struck me like, what the fuck are you talking about here? Where Osha actually said, if she becomes a Jedi, she'd never be able to come back and see her family again. And I thought about it, and as soon as she said that, I went, wait a second. The Jedi don't hold you prisoner when you become a Jedi. Yes, you have duties and responsibilities, but nothing says you cannot go see your family again, at least that I'm aware of. Now, this is Disney Jedi, so maybe Disney Jedi say once you're a Jedi, you can never see your family again, but last I knew, if you're a Jedi, you can still go see your family. You can still have friends. So I'm trying to figure out where the hell this came from. And granted, maybe it's just a young child's misinterpretation, but it's like, the mom didn't correct her or anything. So, again, trying to just muddy the waters when it comes to Jedi as being bad people. Let's see. Okay. Now, here's where things just go from 0 to holy fuck, where the hell did this come from? So, May is, of course, she takes the test with Jedi, and she admits, yeah, I do want to become a Jedi. And they'd say, yeah, we'd be happy for you to come and train you. And so back in her room, May is just going all up in arms, pissed off that she wants to leave. And it's like, I can kind of understand, like, where she might be upset, like her sister's going away and she's really close with her sister, although based on the way they're constantly fighting, I don't see it. Like, I don't see that closeness. They're constantly fighting one another. And then May goes from upset child who is not happy that her sister wants to leave to fucking psychopath in 0.25 seconds. She walks Osha in her room, takes like a flame lantern plasma thing off the wall, burns Osha's, I guess it's like her diary or journal or something that she was writing in, burns that, which either that or her throwing down the lantern starts a massive wildfire that rips through this entire compound within minutes. Bearing in mind, the compound is made out of stone and steel. The walls are stone, and of course there's technology. And they catch fire. A stone and steel compound is flammable. Did you know that, Jet? Did you know stone and steel was flammable? And so the fire just rips out of control in seconds, spreads throughout it. You hear an explosion, presumably from, this wildly out of control fire from above Usha's room, along with some screams. She's able to escape the room, gets up top, and sees all of the witches laying on the ground, presumed dead. And then she goes into this other chamber, and here comes May from the other side, looking like a psychopath, and yells like, "What did you do?" And May just looks at her, it's like, "What did you do?" And it's like, the way she says it, it's like, holy crap, this child is a psychopath. She went from 0 to psychopath in 5 seconds. With no build-up and no hint that this was even possible. And just, and kills her entire family. Like, the entire cover. She kills the entire coven. What? There was absolutely no build. This is where I say, the story writing is utter garbage. This made no sense. There was no build up to this. This came out of nowhere because Leslie Helen said we need to have tragedy. Let's manufacture some tragedy. Makes no sense whatsoever. And then of course they're both standing on these 2 broken off pieces of a bridge. They both collapse. They both fall. May actually falls down this way. God knows how, this is a huge chasm and she falls down. Osha starts to fall. Soul comes in and saves her by grabbing her. Why aren't you using the Force like you've proven you can do to stop someone from falling 2 episodes ago? Something they conveniently forget. They conveniently forget that these Force powers exist and that these people can use them. But he saves Osha. Well, May falls we're talking hundreds of feet. She literally falls down the interior of a mountain. And somehow she survives? An 8-year-old? That makes no sense. And Soul basically gets her out of there. She sees Mom in the ground, Gil's mom, and takes her out. And then they're on the ship flying back to Coruscant. And that kind of ends the episode. Although it does end with one of the twins looking at a tree like we saw in the beginning. So, yeah, it's like the second half of the episode just goes off the rails. 100% off the rails for no reason. And again, this is absolute shit tier story writing. And it's like, I'm sitting there, I was watching the whole time going, who's making these decisions? How is this even possible for you to come up with a decision this badly? And additionally, it explains nothing regarding what happened in the first 2 episodes. Actually, episode 2. Because if you have not seen either of the 2 episodes, and I do not blame you if you haven't, one of the 4 basically, May is on a killing quest to kill the 4 Jedi that showed up at her family's enclave, to, requesting to take her with them to train as Jedi. Carrie-Anne Moss was one of those Jedi. She was the first one to die in 5 seconds in episode 1. And yes, there's what people have been saying in various critiques of it. They're bang on. They're 100% bang on with their critiques of it. I have nothing more to add. It was a shit fight. Shit right. The second episode, she finds another one of the Jedi who has now become the Master. Back then he was a Padawan. Was the actual person shield first? Death Star planned? I know I just ate myself one. Dark Forces is a good old game. Was he? I don't remember Kyle. I don't remember Kyle. Wait. I don't remember Kyle Katarn being the one to actually steal the first Death Star plans. Although, I did not play all of the games that he was in, so he may have been in one of the previous ones that maybe there's something implied in the previous ones that I didn't play. But anyway, and yes, Dark Forces is a classic. It is. So during the events of the 3rd episode, this, in present time, Jedi Master was only a Padawan. And the head of the coven actually takes over his mind. She basically mind controls him for a second. His eyes go black and he falls to his knees and he's just kind of like in a, oh. And so these witches can mind control you. The Jedi don't react very cautiously to this. They don't go, holy shit, they just took over the mind of the Jedi Padawan. This is a threat. They're just kind of like, oh, okay, so that happened. Well, 16 years later, in the present day, back in episode 2, he was in a state of 24-hour meditation or something in an impenetrable bubble. An impenetrable force bubble that they cannot break to try and kill him. And what she ends up doing is getting some poison, coming back to him and saying, you either tell the Jedi what they did or kill yourself with this poison. And so, of course, naturally, if you'd only seen episode 2, you'd think, holy crap, he must have done something really bad, because he kills himself with the poison. He wakes up from his 10-year meditation to go, I'm so sorry for what happened, drink the poison, and kill himself. So you must be thinking, well, geez, he must have done something horrible. Him and the rest of the Jedi didn't do anything. Literally, they did nothing. All they did, they hacked a door and came in with a teeny little bit of force that they probably shouldn't have. And they tested Osha, found out, she's Jedi, and made the offer to her, would you like to come with us to train as a Jedi? Which she actually did want to do. And then May killed the entire coven. The Jedi didn't do that. May did that. She's the one that killed all of her people. Because she was a pissy, whiny little sociopath. But this guy was acting like he did something so horrible when he didn't do anything. None of them did. They didn't do a goddamn thing. So why are they making him act like he's so guilty over something that he has to kill himself? It literally explains nothing about that. It's, we need thing to happen, so we're going to have thing happen, and someone's going to say something profound just because it sounds profound, and make happen. Yes. Cut. Print. Great job. Here's another $180 million to make a show. Although, from what I heard, they pulled season 2. It's cut. The one thing I will say is, and I apologize to the actor because I can't recall his name, the actor who plays Soul is by far the best actor in the show. Every scene that he's in, I really appreciate his performance. He does an excellent job. So, without a doubt, he is a great performer. Carrie-Anne Moss is wasted. They spent a lot of money for Carrie-Anne Moss, and she's absolutely wasted in this show. So, I don't know what the hell's going on there. But the actor who plays Soul, fantastic actor. And I as far as the Coven of Witches go, the one who plays the lead witch, I guess she's a good actor. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, they are. They are absolutely trying to make the Jedi seem like the bad guys. I don't know why. It doesn't make a whole lot of, it's... I'm wondering if they're trying to pull it. I'm wondering if they're trying to pull a Rian Johnson of subverting expectations, which they should know from The Last Jedi that doesn't work out so well for them. But I don't know whether or not I'm gonna actually watch any of the other episodes. I don't know. I watched this one because it was touted as being, it destroys the Force, this is like the absolute worst, and it destroys the Force and destroys Star Wars. And while no, I don't think in and of itself the episode destroys the Force or destroys Star Wars, it's still not good. Yeah, well, I mean, Rian Johnson, I guess, I don't know. I other than The Last Jedi, I haven't seen any of this stuff. I've heard that, Knives Out was good. I never saw it, though. So, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this Star Wars was already destroyed before this even came out. This didn't do it, any further. It didn't, put the nail in the coffin or anything. But it wasn't good. It's once again showcased that Leslie Headland and everyone surrounding her doesn't know how to write a fucking Star Wars story. That she should have never been given any keys to this franchise. And Disney only has themselves to blame for front-loading the absolute shit out of it with propaganda.